Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm with Grant Wolfley Casting. Also with us is Grant Wolfley.
Thanks for joining.
And we are joined by VFX extraordinaire, Lesley Robson-Foster, who
Hello.
um, we've worked with before. Lesley, what have we worked with together? I don't even remember everything.
God. Boardwalk Empire, the Nick, the OA. I don't know. I seem to see you in every single production meeting I've ever been to. I don't. There isn't anybody else but you, is there?
Well, thank you very much. So we were speaking with Lesley off camera about VFX and the AI and scanning of it all. And Lesley was gracious enough to agree to talk a little bit on camera to kind of explain things to our background artists, since the technology obviously is ever changing. As we are speaking right now, it's changing. But we can speak a bit in broad terms to kind of demystify the process a bit, and make it a little bit more clear to understand. But we should start at the beginning just so people understand this basic concept. What's the difference between VFX and special effects?
Okay, so special effects generally is everything that's physical. If you're going to blow something up, or you want to make the road wet, or you want to do a water fountain or anything, you would call for special effects. And visual effects is usually anything digital, virtual and digital. Now, the Academy, the Oscars people call it special visual effects, just to confuse you all. But that's an old-fashioned term that's just from, as the movies came out. But now the two things are very distinctly different. So I always get mistaken for one or the other, and it's very good fun to wind people up and pretend I know how to blow something up, but I don't. So we will deal with capturing elements of a photography, of plates, of backgrounds, of foregrounds, and putting them together digitally afterwards. And the special effects people would usually be practical on set, actually blowing something up for people to film. Now, where we join together is that the often an explosion or a gun, as you all have heard lately, is too dangerous to have on set. So I'll work with special effects to shoot elements of bullets or muzzle flashes or explosions, and then I'll digitally put them into the show or movie. So it's become that we two work very closely together. And when I enter awards and all the rest of it, I can name a special effects person who worked with me to go on my team. So the world is changing a bit, and it isn't just, them and us. We're all joined together.
Thank you so much for clarifying. Obviously, a lot of people hear AI and are immediately concerned. Can you elaborate a little on how AI is used in VFX?
Sure. So I've been in this business nearly 40 years, and for 20 of them, I've been using artificial intelligence and virtual and augmented reality all the time. It's just became fashionable now to decide that it's scary. But, in the film world, you have to put something in to get something out. There's no world in which something's going to get generated without me or somebody like me telling it what to be, exactly how to look, what to do, and all the rest of it. So for me at the moment, and in my opinion, for the foreseeable future, definitely for the next 20 years, I don't think it's anything to be scared of. It's, it's another tool for visual effects to use to make many people out of a few people, to change the look of somebody. I mean, we often do cosmetic work on people, or we make people look younger, or we make them look older. All of that is AI using as part of the tools. On a show I'm working on at the moment, we are replacing people's faces just because it's like we have a stunt person who's doing something with their body, or a dance person, or a athlete who, the actor cannot do it, of course, and they're absolutely fine with that. They use the double's body and the actor's face. And that's not new. I've been doing that for a long time too. It's just gotten easier. So you know, when if you're going to do that kind of work, you can do it several different ways, and probably artificial intelligence has got something to do with all of them. But again, my opinion is that I don't think it's anything to be frightened of. It's not going to take. It's not going to make the actor be able to be in more films than he or she planned to be in. You know, it's like it's absolutely a particular thing that you do for a particular project. So if I scan you for one thing, the chances of that being able to be used somewhere else are very, very slim, because it's always particular lighting, particular setup, the way it was made. So you being you know, told that you're being made into an artificial intelligence avatar may be good for this particular show, but you will know what's happening to it, but it can't be then used for something else. It just isn't a thing right now.
That's really good clarification, because that's a lot of people's concern, honestly. There are various applications of scanning talent in the process of filmmaking, and obviously it was heavily debated aspect of the recent union negotiations that led to the strike. So can you talk a little about the types of scanning currently used for crowd duplication, which is the #1 thing we see with our background talent right now?
I understand. It's very likely that the first plan of attack is not scanning. The first plan of attack is tiling, where if I have an auditorium or a stadium that needs thousands of people, 10,000 people, 2,000 people, but there's only 200 people been hired to do it, then I would get them sitting in different places in the stadium, and I'd just keep filming them again and again and again and again, and then I'd put all of those tiles together just like tiles, and then the same person would appear several times. Now you'll be at work that day and you'll be asked to sit in a particular spot with your fellows, and then you will get up and you'll move to another spot, and you'll be filmed again on the same piece of, you know, tape, really. And then later on, we'll composite all these tiles together, and I'll turn those 200 people into, you know, 5,000 people or whatever it is. But again, just you're in the right environment, in the right light. So I can only use you for that shot. I can't pick up that crowd that I've shot and put them in another stadium. There's the camera, the type of lens, the lighting, the clothes you're wearing, all of those things would make it unique to that day. And you're working that day, so you might get tiled that day, and you might appear in the same shot several times. But when you use tiling, it's not a big, you know, close-up of the crowd. It's for background. It really is for background. So the chances of you being able to see each head, and the fact that it's repeated, is slim. But that would happen, you know, when if you don't do it well, you notice the people being cloned. But it's always en masse, and it's always for a broad thingy, and you're not scanned, and you can't use it for something else. So that's tiling for that kind of stadium thing. If it's let's say it's a protest march in the street, and you want, you know, the first 200 people to be real, and then you want to make it look like the people went all the way down the road. So then the camera would back up and shoot the people, the same 200 people, again on a longer lens, and then cut and paste them behind the first people, and so on and so on. Again, just for the lighting, just for the lens, just for that camera, you can only use it for the shot that you intended. Now, once in a while, you'll get asked to be photographed, and they call that photogrammetry, and visual effects people call it making sprites. So you might get asked to stand in an A position, and they'll photograph you all around. And that will make a little digital double of you. Again, you're in the clothes that you're supposed to be in for this movie show, You're in the lighting that you're supposed to be in for this movie or show, and you would be extra people in those big crowd scenes. You'll never be used close because it doesn't work close. If you're going to be used close, then you'd really be yourself and an actor. So these are extra little people. So if you get photographed like that, it's to be an additional ballet dancer at the end, or an additional protester at the back, or in that crowd stadium thing, it might be a person who's standing on the balcony, and you'll be asked to do whatever everybody else is being done. But again, the chances of taking you away and saving that to be used on another show, it's not a thing really. I have to do it, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and I have to do it specially for each show each time. So, you know, I know that the actors who were hired for that show, background actors who were hired for that show, are only being used on that show. If I wanted to make a completely digital crowd, not made of people at all, I could, but they don't look good yet. And they just don't. As you can tell, there's something wrong. There's a reason why you would hire people and not just make it digital. That's not where we are with feature films or television yet. It might be with animation or a video game, but not for us just yet. It doesn't look good enough. It doesn't work.
Thank you. I mean, that's great. Thank you so much for clarifying. And obviously what you just described is very different from the extra steps you would have to take for like motion capture and stuff to create a little CGI creature who is existing in the film, like a monster or an alien or whatever, what have you, like Avatar, the movie.
Yeah.
That's a lot more
That's
stuff.
a different thing. And you would have hired the person specifically for the way they were able to play a monkey or Gollum or any of those things. And, their acting skills are very important then. And the fact that you then employ the faces and mouths to the animated creature, that's a whole different animal, a whole different thing. And you would have hired a specific person for the job to be those things. And again, the same thing, they might, these days, you don't need all the big motion capture rigs pointing at people's faces. You can the truth is, you can sort of do it really, really simply with photogrammetry. And you don't even need marks on the face anymore like you used to. But that again would be specific to a project. I don't know of any visual effects people or any movie studios who are capturing people and keeping their likeness or their avatar for another show. I've just never seen it happen. And the lighting and the particular circumstance in which you are being shot really matters, of course. I couldn't shoot somebody for, Grand Theft Auto and expect them to work in, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or something. It just isn't a thing. So if you get scanned, if you get asked to be scanned or photogrammetried or whatever, I'm sure there's all sorts of pieces of paper now that came out from the strike and everything, but the chances are it's for that project. And I mean, you owning your avatar, I'm sure you can, but it's not useful. It's not going to be where you would go like you've got a headshot and get yourself a scan made. It's just never going to work because it's not in the light, it's not in the costume, it's not in the right environment. So you have to separate that out. You can't just have a digital you that's generic. You have to be in the right spot. So you'd be on the show if that was happening to you, I think. Does that make sense to you?
It does to me. Thank you. I mean, I hope it does to everybody else, but yeah, I think it's important for people to understand at this point in the technology, that's not something that people can do. They can't just scan you in and use you wherever they want in the world. It's just not likely. And if it were a case where they wanted to use somebody and then do something else with them and make them speak or something, that's a whole other situation with SAG-AFTRA that requires contracts and all kinds of stuff. So I think the tip to background is, and I've said this before, determine the use. Just ask, why are you scanning me? What is it for?
Right.
And they need to tell you, I mean, obviously. And Lesley wrote us a wonderful little summary of the types of current VFX technology, which we will be posting and linking below for people to read through and check out. It's very informative. And thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you explaining this to us, because Grant and I, we only know what you tell us. We don't understand the technology.
Great.
But thank you so much for taking your time to do this for us. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
Lesley, this is always very informative. That's great information.
Thanks, Grant. Thanks, Melissa.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks.